I own and used almost all of the classic focal lengths we have in street photography. Those are 28mm through 85mm. And today I'll be talking about my favorite focal lengths of all time for street photography. I'm talking about the Nifty 50. And I have 50 reasons why I love it. Well, not exactly, but let's get into it. Let's start with a quick overview. So this focal length is also referred as the editorial focal length, and editorial means to put together a collection of photos to tell a greater story. And this lens and this focal length is really ideal for that. The 50mm and 35mm, those are the most popular focal lengths for street photography and for street photographers in general, and especially beginners. The Nifty 50 is a very beginner-friendly focal length, and it's also quite versatile. Offers a great deal of flexibility no matter what kind of photography you're doing. It's all-round good lens to use, and especially if you're a new street photographer. It's also a quite fast prime lens. This one is 1.8, and that is really great if you like to do night street photography like myself. So in low light situations it will perform really well. And because this is a popular focal length along with the 35mm, manufacturers also have a cheaper option available, so you don't have to buy the most expensive prime lens. You can get it for a good price point and get started on your street photography journey. All right, so let's talk about perspective, and I'm talking about the distance between you and your subject. It's very important that you understand and learn how distance affects your photography. This focal length can help you tell a story where there's a focus on a subject, but you can also easily add another element to really expand on that storytelling and give it more context. Let me give you a simple example. So if your main focus is a coffee cup, but there's no context to it, so it's just sitting there on a coffee table, it might seem a bit boring, but if you add more context to it by adding more elements, so basically introducing a background, maybe you add more of a scene so you can see maybe some of the people drinking that coffee cup, and suddenly the perspective has changed and also the scene has changed, and it might be more interesting for the viewer. Let's talk about how this focal length will help improve your composition over time. You will be able to improve your composition because you will force yourself to find interesting ways to compose your photos and thereby tell a story through your composition. And this is partially because of the foot zoom. So basically when you move around, because it's a fixed focal length, you will also force to really think about your compositions and what kind of elements and what kind of storytelling you are looking for. And the whole process of thinking about your composition and really using your foot zoom and trying out different positions and also compositions to tell that specific story that you're looking for can really help you grow as a street photographer, but also really understand that composition is really important part of a focal length that you're using. The 55mm can also help you with a simpler and straight to the point composition, and there are really two aspects to it. The first one is to close in and have an emphasis on your subject and thereby tell a story that is specifically for that subject or element. The 50mm is wide enough so you can also crop out unwanted things and make your photo much simpler, and sometimes less is more. And the other aspect is to go wide, so basically shoot wide and add more of your environment and the scene that you're trying to capture by adding a few select elements. When you say you know what a scene will look like through a 50mm field of view, you know you mastered your composition. The 50mm focal length is quite versatile focal length, and this is because you can maintain a distance if you're shy or you don't like to be up close and personal with your subjects, but you can also close in if that's what you like. And as a side bonus, you will get that compression effect with this, where things appear closer than they are. And the longer the focal length, the greater the effect of the compression will be, but this will definitely get you started. On the other hand, the compression effect is really hard to get with a wider focal length like the 28, because you have to be very, very close to your subjects and almost be part of their special moment that you're trying to capture. So definitely this is a good start. A few other things I want to mention, that this is also a great portrait lens. So basically I used it for street portraits a few times. It can go down to 1.8, this specific lens. It will give you that nice bokeh, which is really nice for portraits. So you can also use this for landscape photography. I haven't done that much, but it can be done. And if you have enough distance, you can capture whatever scene or landscape you're trying to capture with this as well. The 50mm lenses are often compact and lightweight, and this one is certainly very light and very compact. And because I mostly do street photography, I really like to have my setup being as compact and as lightweight as possible, because I go out on the street for a couple hours and I don't want to carry a big setup, or I don't want to carry a bag. So sometimes less is just less. And especially for my Sony a7C setup, this is really a great lens. And in addition, I also bought my Fuji X100V, and what really attracted me to the Fuji X100V was that it is such a simple setup. It has a fixed lens that you cannot change, so this is not interchangeable. It's really appealing to me because I don't have to think about what I want to shoot, how I want to shoot. It's just the way it is. You pick up the camera and you go out. And the last reason why I love this focal length is because it is also available in cheaper options. So the big manufacturers, they make this focal length, and especially the 35 as well, which are the most popular focal lengths in street photography. They make them in cheaper options, so you don't have to break the bank, which is really a good thing if you're considering buying a nifty 50. The 50mm focal length is also a really good way to exploring other focal lengths. So I consider this as a stepping stone or maybe a gateway to exploring other focal lengths. My own personal story is that I started with a 35mm, and then I used that as a stepping stone to buy the 50mm, and I used this to evolve into buying the 85mm. And then the 85 actually got me back to 28. So I have all the classic focal lengths and I enjoyed using all of them, but they serve very different purpose. So when I'm going out doing street photography with my Fuji X100V, which is a 35mm equivalent, I know exactly what kind of photos I can make, and also really understand how far or close I have to stay to capture that photo that I want to capture. So I would say I have all the essential focal lengths in my street photography kit, but I do dream about the 105mm. That is a focal length that I wanted for a long time. But let's see when the budget allows for it. All right, take care. See you in the next one.